welcome everyone to my review for Wulong Fallen Dynasty. This is my first video game review ever. It's been a long time coming. I've been meaning to do this for a while, but finally here, so let's get into this. This is a game brought to us by Koei Tecmo and Team Ninja and the people behind Neo and Neo 2. To give you a brief story overview with no spoilers, there won't be any spoilers in this. I tried to use only the first few chapters ish for gameplay reference, but you play a customizable voiceless hero during the end of the Han Dynasty, during the Three Kingdoms period in China. Your village is attacked and destroyed by the Yellow Turban Army, in which you try to save a blindfolded boy and you're killed, but for some reason resurrected. I can only assume because of heroic bravery or some reason, which for some reason unleashes a dark evil spirit who is using elixir, a powerful substance made of chi, which characters use for summoning divine beasts, which is an element in the game, to amass an army of dark warriors to overthrow the Three Kingdoms. I don't really know if they ever explain his plan for why he wants to do this. It just seems to be for world domination, I guess. Your character seems to be this special type of one warrior that can destroy this threat, so you join up with Chow Chow and other characters that you'll recognize from the Dynasty Warrior franchise to save the kingdoms and overthrow this evil sorcerer. But if you're a fan of the Dynasty Warriors franchise, this is going to seem very familiar to you, as it is taking direct reference from that series. But as you've probably all been hearing as it was going around before the game even came out, this game is getting a lot of comparisons to FromSoft games, the Souls-like genre. And that's because a lot of the gameplay elements, like you have battle flags instead of bonfires, but they work exactly the same. You rest there, you get your health back, you get your healing back. Certain enemies will respawn. You can level up from here. You can travel from here. You have dragon pots instead of Estus flasks, but same thing. They'll heal you. There's items to increase their use, and how many times you can use it, and how much health you'll get back from each use of it. You have interconnected levels that have shortcuts that open up to get you around quicker and easier. You have an equipment load system still, where the heavier equipment you have, the less roll you'll get. If you die to an enemy, you have to go back and kill that enemy to acquire your XP back, I mean. But yeah, and you can be invaded, of course, at any time by both actual NPCs and actual players. But this can be turned off in the options. It's just never told to you, and it will remain on by default. I personally have never played either of the Neo games. All my experience is coming from the Souls games and Bloodborne and Sekiro. So those are that's my knowledge, where I'm coming from on this review. There are two types of collectibles. I won't spoil what they are, but if you are into collecting stuff, then just know there is stuff in here to collect. And it is a game that you have to be committed and put some time into in order to get the most out of this game. And there are things that can make this game easier. There is a summon system in the game, but if you want to make it harder, you can never use them. There are reinforcements where you can call in other NPC characters to help you fight alongside them. They're not the best, but again, if you don't want them, you don't have to have them. They give you an item where you can banish them. Now, to get into some of the good parts of this game, I felt like this game had beautiful 4K graphics. Unfortunately, I do not have a 4K capture card right now, so none of that is coming through on my stuff probably. But if you do have a 4K monitor or TV, this game is going to look a lot better. They really emphasize the neon red and gold in this game, so that's something you're going to see a lot. You have a lot of varied environments here, from forest to winter forest, sewers, dungeons, villages. So you're going to see a lot of really cool stuff in 4K. Great character customization in here. You can make anything from something that looks like you to something that looks like something else to something completely crazy and wacky. It's all up to you, but just know that type of customization, that deep customization is here. The voice acting in English is pretty good. It could be better. It doesn't feel like it's top tier voice acting, but you know, it's not the worst voice acting you're gonna see in a Koei Tecmo or from Ninja game or Team Ninja game, my bad. There is a hub world in this game that contains a few NPC quest lines. These aren't going to be as deep as a FromSoft game like Elden Ring and Dark Souls, but you know, they're there for you to do. Some of them are pretty funny, and you get to interact a lot with the warriors in the game. The combat is very fast paced. It takes a minute to learn, but it is fun, and it is how do I put this? Very satisfying when you get good at it and you get used to it, and you can actually learn the deflecting and get it working for it with you. You can have a lot of fun, and it feels very satisfying. There are lots of different weapon types and armor, but they do get reused a lot, but we'll get into that later. But if you want to use swords, you can use swords. There's dual swords, there's halberds, there's dual halberds, there's spears, there's all types of different stuff. Heavy weapon or heavy armor, light armor, all that good stuff is here. So you can have fun with that to your heart's content. It does a decent job copying the Souls-like formula, but I do feel it's its own game and does its own thing a lot. This isn't the worst Souls like I've seen. This isn't just trying to be Dark Souls. It is trying to be its own thing. This game does have potential, and I would love to see a sequel in the future. There is DLC coming out real soon. I think it would also give it a chance to fix the combat, which I would really like to see this combat cleaned up and looking a little bit nicer. Magic is easy to acquire, but it is tied to stats, so you should definitely look into what kind of magic you want to do before leveling up, or how you want to build your character in relation to what magic you want to use, as it's all acquirable, but it's not all usable right away, and some of it does take a significant amount of investment in order to use some of the better magic later on, but it is all still usable depending on your play style and what you're doing. There's ranged combat as well. This mainly is bows, throwing knives, and bombs, but it's easy to use. It's actually very handy in this game to get rid of pesky ranged enemies or spellcasting enemies to make clearing out areas a lot easier. So definitely make sure to keep that in the back of your head as you play through this game. The bosses, while there is some issues we'll talk about, most of them do still feel fun and unique and challenging to me, at least on the first play. The first time fighting them, a lot of them you'll probably find yourself beating on your first try afterwards, but for the first attempt at least, you're going to have a little bit of challenge and some fun to them. All that said, now we need to get to some of the bad stuff. On release, the PC port was a miserable fucking wreck. There was problems with the keyboard and mouse, dead zone issues, lag, input lag, I mean. It didn't detect mouse and keyboard when you had like a controller plugged in or something. The Windows version was launching in a weird area of your screen, which made it hard to get to the options and fix it. Shaders flashing, stuttering problems. I had this happen to me too on a few occasions with the shaders flashing. Even in 4K, I noticed it happen. But loot system in this game also feels really outdated. You are constantly getting weapons and armor for just the simplest of enemies killed. It's not like Dark Souls where it's just their weapons that enemies will drop or their armor. It can be any weapon or armor in the game, so you end up spending a lot of time at the workshop having to sell and salvage a lot of stuff that you don't need, and it becomes very tedious and time wasting, and just it's not fun. It's not a fun system, and the upgrading also is a little confusing too, because you have a +9 system where your weapon maxes out at +9, but you also get weapons from 1 to 5 stars in rarity, I'm assuming. But even with all my time, I could never tell if this was making a fucking difference, and it would actually kind of piss me off when I would get a 1-star thing at the end of the game. Like, is that worth anything? I don't know. There's no way to compare weapons or armor in the shop or even in your inventory, so if you want to compare one thing to another thing, you have to literally scroll up and down in order to do so. You can't just press a button and compare what you have equipped to something you don't have equipped to see if the thing you just picked up is better than the thing you're already using. And it's just odd to me that in 2023 they don't have something that could do that. So it's a lot of time scrolling up and down in your inventory, comparing what you have to what you want to equip, and it's just not. It doesn't feel like it's been optimized in any way, shape, or form. The UI in the inventory or the shop menu. And then there's the boss placement. Now, this was something I really struggled with where I was going to put it in my notes and when we were going to talk about it. It is very annoying. The first boss in this game, as you've probably heard, is an incredible pain in the ass. He's going to take you a while. He took me probably 2.5, probably closer to 3 hours to beat. And after that, though, it has this thing where it gets a lot easier. The bosses get a lot easier. They won't take you nearly as much time to get through until you get about halfway into the game. But it just seems like there's these difficulty spikes at the worst possible time in the game, or at weird points in the game. So just be aware of that going in. That first boss is a very poor representation of the game going forward. From there, it'll get a lot easier. Plus, you get reinforcements after that first boss. Whether or not you want to use them is up to you. But yeah, it just feels like there should have been maybe more planning in the layout of the bosses. And even in the demo, I've heard that he was only a one-phase boss fight, so it's just a little weird. While the game does have challenge, the reward for the challenge is not always there. You will find yourself clearing a lot of areas and beating a lot of big bosses and then getting loot that doesn't really feel that good to get. You know, it's just the rewards don't make you feel accomplished. You do get accomplishment from beating and taking down some of these big spectacle bosses, but then you get your rewards for it and you're just like, oh, well, I have better shit already, so why the fuck would I want this? So yeah, that hopefully could be fixed in a patch. Maybe give you better rarity items. I noticed that was mainly the problem, was the rarity in which I got stuff was pretty bad. Your player feels like he has no impact, and since he is voiceless, there's no interaction between your character and the warriors, or the Dynasty Warriors characters, so to speak. You just grunt. You can even customize your tone and pitch, but just know this will only affect your grunt. I thought we were going to have dialogue or something. There is no dialogue. Your character interacts through just hand gestures and nods. So that was kind of disappointing. But if this game gets a sequel, please make our character actually somebody who does something. And then the deflect system. Now, this could be because I didn't focus on the water stat in here, which I found out way later on affects your deflect in this game. So this might be tied to that. I'm not entirely sure. I've had other people tell me that their deflect fell off too. It just feels like it's a frame or two off. Like you need to input the deflect a little bit before the critical hits you. They say it is supposed to be one of those systems where they tell you it's right before, but anytime I did it right before, it felt like I was a little bit too early. This game features a fortitude or morale system that is tied to each area. It does affect either your stats or enemy stats. I think I've heard both online, but essentially the more flags you get, the higher your fortitude, and the stronger you are or the weaker the enemies are, is the best way I can try to sum this up without being here all day. It's very confusing. I didn't like it. I don't think it should continue. The invasion system, if you're into PvP, I would actually avoid this for right now. It's having severe latency problems, which will cause you to lag pretty harshly and lose. Criticals feel OP regardless of what weapon. I've seen people getting one shot off criticals and then even being deflected off lag, what looks like lag. So it's just a horrendous mess right now. This was something that needed more work. Wall running system doesn't always work as well as it should. It has a system where you're supposed to be able to run up and then jump over and get on top of high ledges or roofs to survey areas or pick off, ranged attacking enemies. But sometimes it will have you run up and then just shoot you back down. I had that happen quite a lot. It's something that it takes quite a while to really annoy you, but if this is something that you're going to put a lot of time into, just know that might happen. There's a few other minor things that aren't as bad but are probably worth mentioning. Animations and combos and criticals all are reused quite a lot. Every weapon, whether it be sword wise, like every single-handed sword will have the same combo as any other single-handed sword. Every dual sword will have the same combos as every other dual sword. So there's not a lot of variety when it comes to the combos and the animations. And the criticals when you stab someone in the back is always going to be the same, and same when you drop onto them and perform a critical. It'll always be the same animation. So I felt like they probably should have had more animations in this game. With it being 2023 and it releasing on this gen, I felt like the animations got pretty stale and old quickly. There's online co-op where you can team up with your friends, or friends can team up with you to help you out. I'm just assuming off what I saw off the PvP that it might be a little sus right now. So maybe give that a few patches before trying it out. I couldn't find anyone to try it out with. So let me know down in the comments your experience with that. I found loading time between levels to be a little long. Sometimes I clocked them in between 20 and 25 seconds. This might just be a personal thing, and this was all actually from traveling between areas. When dying and reloading into a level, it was fast and fine. So just know loading times might be a little excessive if you have a lack of patience like me. Items sometimes have a problem of dropping off enemies way late. I don't know if this is a bug because it's still happening a few weeks after launch, where you will kill an enemy, and if you walk away from them and come back, you will find an item floating on their body. So just know to give items a minute before they come off the bodies, and not like Dark Souls minute. I mean, like, give it 30-45 seconds. Might want to leave an area and come back, and you'll find a few items laying around for you. As I talked about earlier, there are some minor freezes and stuttering even on Xbox Series X. I had times where it would completely freeze on me for 3 to 4 seconds at a time before resuming, so that's a little concerning. But don't exit out of your game completely. Just give it like 5 to 10 seconds maybe, and it might resume for you. Reinforcements, again, they can make this game easier. They are completely optional, as some people might want to go through the whole game on their own. No reinforcements, no help. But even if the chapter starts you with a reinforcement, just know you can use your willow something to get rid of them and proceed as normal. Overall, I'm going to give this game a 7 out of 10, honestly. I still think it's a pretty good game. I think it's a solid first attempt for Koei and Team Ninja. It does have its flaws, but it's trying its best. It has potential too. I think that if we get a sequel to this, they could iron out a lot of stuff. I think the DLC coming at the end of this year, or throughout the end of this year, is going to help flesh this out more. There's some stuff that can't be fixed here, but maybe in the sequel it can. However, I do not think this is worth $60 at the time. With PvP not working at all, it seems like, or for the most part at all, you're missing a whole section of the game right there. So I don't think you can justify spending full price when you're not getting the full game and everything that the game was supposed to come with. But I do think what is here is still very solid. I think it has a good campaign. I think it has good graphics. Boss placement is a little frustrating. A lot of people are going to have a hard time getting through the first boss, and yeah, you don't want to buy a game and not be able to get past the first boss and actually experience the majority of the game. But it is free on Game Pass, so if anything, you can get it on Game Pass with little to no risk to your wallet. But there are just some things throughout this review you should keep in mind if this is something you want to buy and still haven't fully decided on. But it's not the worst Souls-like game I've ever played. Just know that once you get past that first boss, it gets a lot better, it gets a lot easier. It's not a live service game, so at least we have that. If you're into Souls-like, definitely give this a shot. If you were into Neo, give this a shot. If you're into challenging games, this isn't going to be the worst one you'll play ever, so there's that. Hey everyone, Future Aaron here to thank you for making it this far into the video, since that means you made it all the way through, so I really appreciate that. Please go down below and leave a comment. Let me know what you think, what you didn't like, what I could do better next time, as any feedback right now will really help me out a lot. Don't forget, every Friday night I cover gaming news over live on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/3alivegaming, or the link will be down below in the description. So come check that out and join us for that. All my links will be down there as well for my Discord and my Twitter, so you can keep up with me and know when I'm about to go live. And hopefully the next review I'll be doing is Resident Evil 4 Remake. But thanks everyone for watching. I hope you enjoy your day or your week, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. See ya.